The palace of the Xyrix Empire stood quiet under the purple sky of dawn. No guards moved, no servants spoke. Nothing suggested that something unusual was about to happen. Everything looked peaceful. Too peaceful, but the alien queen was returning. Home early. No one knew she was coming. Her starship landed without sound, its dark silver wings folding as it touched the palace ground. The queen stepped out slowly, her long cloak brushing the floor. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried the weight of a mother who had been away from her newborn children for too long. She had missed her quadruplets every second since their birth. She wanted to surprise them. She wanted to hold them again, but she also wanted to see who she could trust. The palace seemed empty. Or maybe the silence was hiding something. The queen walked through the long crystal corridor. Her steps echoed softly. She did not call for anyone. She wanted to enter the nursery quietly, without guards, without noise. She wanted a pure moment with her younglings. When she reached the door of the royal nursery, she paused. A strange sound came from inside, a soft laugh. Then a gentle human voice. Her heart froze for a second. Why would a human be inside her private chamber? Who allowed this? Why were the guards not here? Slowly, she opened the door. What she saw inside made her entire world stop. There, on the smooth floor, sat a young human janitor. His uniform was simple, and his hands were covered with soft glowing dust from cleaning tools. But that was not what shocked her. Her 4 royal babies, her precious quadruplets, were sitting around him. One was holding his fingers. One was touching his face. Another was sitting on his lap. And the 4th baby was asleep, leaning on his shoulder. The sight hit the queen harder than any weapon. How dare a low-rank human touch the heirs of the Xyrix Empire? Where were the nurses? Where were the guards? Why were her babies calm, happy, even safe in his arms? The queen stepped inside quietly, but her presence was enough to change the air in the room. The janitor froze. The babies looked up. A deep silence filled the space. The queen's voice was low, cold, and powerful. What are you doing with my children? The janitor did not move. He did not speak. His hands trembled as he slowly tried to stand up. His eyes showed fear, real fear. He bowed quickly, unable to make full sentences. Your Majesty. I did not mean, but he stopped. Even his breath seemed too loud. The queen took a step forward. Her eyes studied him carefully. He was young, maybe 20 years old, with tired eyes but a gentle face. He did not look dangerous, but that meant nothing. Anyone could be a threat to her heirs. She looked down at her babies. Why were they not crying? Why were they not afraid? Why were they reaching again toward this human? One baby crawled toward him, grabbing the hem of his uniform with small glowing hands. Another made a soft cooing sound. The queen felt a wave of confusion she had never known before. Her children rarely reacted like this, even with trained caretakers. They usually cried. They usually resisted. But with this human, they seemed peaceful, almost too peaceful. Her thoughts sharpened. Something was wrong. Something was hidden. Speak, she commanded. Tell me why you were alone with them. The janitor opened his mouth, but no words came out. His fear was clear, but something else was there too. Guilt. The queen noticed it immediately. She narrowed her eyes. You are not telling the whole truth, she said. The janitor swallowed hard. His breathing became uneven. He seemed ready to confess something, but he hesitated. He looked at the babies, then at the queen, then back at the floor. Your Majesty, he whispered. There was no one else here. I heard them crying. I had to help them. The queen's heart tightened. The royal nurses were missing. Why would they leave the heirs alone? Why would a human be the only one to answer their cries? Her instincts screamed danger. This was no accident. This was no mistake. This was the beginning of something far bigger, something dark. The queen stepped closer, her voice colder. Tell me everything." The janitor finally lifted his head. His eyes held a truth he had been hiding, and whatever that truth was, it was about to shake the entire empire. The janitor stood frozen, his hands raised slightly as if any movement might anger the queen more. His heart beat fast, so loud he could hear it echo in his ears. The nursery suddenly felt smaller, as if the walls were closing in around him. The alien queen took slow, controlled steps toward him. Her presence alone carried power, and the janitor felt it press on his chest like invisible weight. Her voice came out calm. "Too calm. Why were you touching my children, human?" The janitor swallowed hard. He looked down at the quadruplets, who were still reaching toward him with tiny glowing hands. Their soft noises broke the silence, but he did not dare bend to comfort them again, not with the queen watching. "I heard them crying," he finally said. "No one came. I was cleaning the hall, and I couldn't ignore them." The queen tilted her head slightly, studying him with cold, sharp eyes. "You entered the royal nursery without permission," she said. "A crime punished by death in my empire." The janitor's knees shook. He wanted to speak, to defend himself, but his throat felt dry. He wasn't sure if he should kneel, step back, or remain still. Every choice felt wrong, but then one of the quadruplets crawled to him again, gripping his foot. The baby looked up, making a happy sound so innocent, so unaware of the tension filling the air. The queen noticed. Her eyes narrowed. Why were the children reacting like this? Why were they choosing the human, a janitor, over the trained alien caretakers who had raised generations of heirs? Nothing about this made sense. "Step away from them," she ordered. The janitor hesitated just a moment, enough for fear to flash across his face, but he obeyed, stepping backward. The babies immediately fussed, reaching toward him, whimpering softly. The queen felt her stomach twist. Her younglings had never shown this kind of attachment. Not even to her. Her distrust grew stronger. She extended her hand, summoning a glowing holographic screen. With a flick of her wrist, she accessed the palace security system. But what she saw made her expression turn dark. The cameras in the nursery hallway were offline, disabled manually. Someone had made sure there was no recorded evidence. The queen looked up sharply. "Who told you to come into this room?" she asked. "No one," the janitor whispered. "I came because the babies were crying and—" "Do not lie to me," the queen snapped. Her voice cut the air like a blade. The janitor winced, but he did not back away. Something inside him refused to lie, even if the truth could cost him his life. "I am not lying," he said, his voice trembling but honest. "I swear, I only wanted to help." The queen stared at him for a long, silent moment. She studied his face, every small twitch, every movement. Humans were weak liars. She could usually sense deception in their voices easily, but this one seemed painfully sincere. Still, sincerity meant nothing if he was being used by someone else. She turned her gaze toward the nursery doors. "Where are the nurses?" she asked quietly. The janitor looked down. He hesitated before answering. "They were never here." The queen froze. "What do you mean?" she demanded. He continued softly. "For the last 2 weeks I never saw them enter this room. The babies cried for long hours. I tried to report it, but the guards told me to stay out of royal matters." The queen's blood ran cold. Her royal nurses, hand-selected, loyal, trained for decades, were missing, ignoring her heirs, abandoning them. Impossible. Unthinkable. Yet the janitor spoke with a raw honesty that was hard to dismiss. Her voice became dangerously low. "Human, why did you not report this directly to the council?" "I tried," he said, "but they wouldn't let me inside. They said humans have no right to speak to royal advisors." A bitter silence settled. The queen felt anger rise inside her, not at him, but at something bigger, something hidden. Something moving behind her back. She stepped closer, her face only inches from his. "You understand the position you are in," she said. "If you are lying, if you are part of a plot, I will end you myself." The janitor took a shaky breath. "I understand, Your Majesty, but I'm telling you the truth." Before the queen could answer, one of the quadruplets suddenly reached up with glowing hands and touched her arm. The queen looked down. Then she realized something. The baby was trembling, not from fear, but from hunger. The queen's eyes widened. Had her heirs been starving? Her heart cracked open. Slowly, she turned back to the janitor. "Tell me everything you know," she whispered. The janitor closed his eyes for a moment, gathering courage. Then he spoke a truth that would shake the empire. The nursery felt colder now, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. The alien queen stood still, her eyes fixed on the janitor, waiting for the truth he carried. The janitor hesitated, his hands shaking slightly. But before he could speak, a soft sound filled the room. The youngest of the quadruplets crawled forward again. This time, she did not reach for the queen. She reached for the janitor. The queen's heart clenched. The baby tugged at the hem of his uniform with small glowing fingers, her bright purple eyes full of trust. Another baby babbled happily and crawled toward him too, pressing his tiny forehead against the human's knee. The janitor stared in fear, unsure if he should pick them up or step away. His instincts told him to comfort them. His fear told him to stay still. The queen watched every movement, every breath, her expression unreadable. Why do they behave like this? She whispered to herself. The baby's behavior broke every rule of Zyrek's biology. Alien infants were extremely sensitive, avoiding strangers and refusing physical contact with anyone outside their species. Even palace nurses required months of bonding rituals. Yet these four were choosing a human. The queen slowly knelt beside her children. They did not cling to her as she expected. Instead, they turned their heads toward the janitor again, whining softly as if begging him to come closer. The queen felt something inside her crack, not anger, not fear, but confusion so deep it almost hurt. She extended her hand toward the nearest baby. The child looked at her, but did not move. Instead, he crawled again toward the human. The janitor swallowed, guilt filling his eyes. I think they trust me, Your Majesty." The queen's gaze sharpened at those words. "No," she said softly. "Trust is not this strong, not this fast, not for my kind." She leaned forward, studying the baby's reactions carefully. When the janitor stepped 1 inch closer, all 4 babies brightened, making small humming sounds of joy. The queen had seen such reactions only once in her life, when newborns bonded with their chosen guardian for life, but that was impossible. Only Zyrek's warriors and caretakers could form such a bond, not humans. "Explain," she said firmly. "How did my heirs become attached to you?" The janitor breathed out slowly. I don't know. I only tried to calm them when they cried." The queen did not look convinced. She motioned for him to approach. "Come here." He hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward. The babies instantly reached out. One tried to climb onto him. Another tugged at his sleeve, giggling. The queen stood tall, her expression hardening. "Pick them up," she ordered. The janitor froze. "Your Majesty, I don't think I should pick them up." His hands trembled as he slowly bent down. He lifted one baby into his arms. The child immediately relaxed, resting against his chest. Then another one crawled up his leg, wanting the same comfort. The queen watched, silent but shaken. This was unnatural. This was dangerous. This was undeniable. The janitor held the infants gently, almost fearfully. They nestled against him as if he were a warm, safe place they had always known. "They know your heartbeat," the queen whispered. "They respond to it." She stepped closer, her eyes locked onto him. How many times have you held them? The janitor looked down, shame and innocence mixing in his expression. More times than I can count, he admitted softly. I didn't want to, I tried not to. But they kept crying, and no one came. A deep, cold anger rose inside the queen, not at him, but at the palace she trusted. At the staff she believed loyal. At the council who swore to protect. Her heirs, she turned her head slightly, watching the babies cling to him. They have chosen you, she said quietly. The janitor's eyes widened. Chosen me for what? In my species, the queen explained, newborns form a life bond with the one who protects them the most. That bond cannot be undone. The janitor felt the weight of those words crash over him. But I'm just a janitor, he whispered. A human janitor. The queen's expression hardened into something sharper, something mixed with fear and realization. Exactly, she said. And that is what makes this impossible. She paced slowly, thinking, her cloak gliding across the floor. If my enemies discover this connection, she continued, they will use you to control my children. Or they will kill you to break their spirits. The janitor felt the babies grip him tighter. As if they understood the danger, the queen turned and faced him fully. This bond, she said, should not exist. She paused, eyes glowing with both power and uncertainty. And if the bond exists, then there must be a reason. The janitor's breathing grew heavy. He felt as if he had stepped into a story far bigger than his own life. The queen lowered her voice. Human. Someone wanted these babies weak. Someone wanted them alone. Someone wanted you to find them. The janitor's eyes widened. You mean this was planned? The queen nodded slowly. Yes, and now I need the truth. All of it. The room fell silent again. The babies clung tighter. The janitor closed his eyes, and then he began to reveal the first piece of the hidden secret. The janitor stood still, the queen's demand echoing in his ears. The 4 babies clung to him, their small glowing hands holding his uniform tightly. He felt their warmth, their trembling. He knew he could no longer keep the truth inside. The queen took one step closer. Her eyes were sharp, unblinking, demanding, speak. She said softly, what happened in this palace? The janitor took a deep breath. His voice shook, but he forced the words out. It started the night the quadruplets were born. The queen stiffened. Her memory flashed back to that night, bright lights, panicked medics, whispers that something was wrong with the heirs' health. She had been told everything was under control, but now she wasn't sure. The janitor continued. I was assigned to clean the east corridors. I heard crying, 3 of the babies crying, loud and scared. It sounded wrong. I went to check, but the nurses pushed me away. They looked frightened. The queen frowned. Frightened of what? The janitor shook his head. I didn't know then. But now I think they were frightened of someone watching them. The queen's jaw tightened. Someone watching. Someone powerful enough to intimidate her own staff. The janitor's voice became lower, almost a whisper. For 2 weeks after that, the nurses never stayed long. They came in, left fast, and sometimes didn't come at all. The queen felt something cold settle inside her chest. Why was I not informed? She asked quietly. Because, the janitor said. The council blocked all reports. They said nothing was wrong. They told staff not to disturb you while you were traveling. The queen's anger burned, slow and dangerous. She had commanded daily reports on her children. Someone had intercepted them, someone in her own court. Who? She asked sharply. Who blocked the information? The janitor hesitated. His eyes flickered toward the nursery doors as if expecting someone to burst in. I only know one name, he said finally. Advisor Kvaris. The queen's face darkened. Joris was one of her closest political advisors, trusted, respected, powerful. He had guided her through wars and treaties, but power could twist anyone, What did Kvaris do? She asked. The janitor swallowed. He told the nurses not to bond with the babies. He said the heirs must remain dependent on the throne. He didn't want them forming attachments. The queen's breathing stopped. Zyric's infants needed emotional connection to grow strong. Without bonds, they grew weak, frail, silent. Someone wanted her heirs fragile. Someone wanted to control the future royal line. Her voice became icy. Did the nurses obey him? The janitor nodded slowly. Yes, at first. But after a few days, they became afraid. The babies started crying for long hours. They refused food. They were getting weaker. The queen felt her claws tighten into the fabric of her cloak. And the council still hid this from me. Yes, the janitor said. Every complaint was erased. Every message blocked. He looked down at the babies who were resting peacefully in his arms. That's why I started sneaking in, he continued quietly. I couldn't listen to their crying anymore. The sound. It hurt. The queen studied him in silence. His voice carried no pride, no heroism, only simple honesty. Simple humanity. What did you do when you sneaked in? She asked. I held them, he said softly. I fed them when I could. I cleaned them when the nurses didn't come. I talked to them. The queen felt her heart twist unexpectedly. She imagined her tiny heirs, alone in this room, crying for help, and only one person answering. A human. The janitor looked ashamed. I know I broke rules. I know I should have kept my distance. But they needed someone, anyone. The queen's anger cracked into something more painful. Guilt. She had trusted her palace. She had trusted her advisors. She had trusted her system. And her children had suffered for it. The janitor continued. After a few days, they started reacting to my voice. They stopped crying when I entered. They smiled when I talked. They slept better when I held them. The queen closed her eyes. The bond made sense now. Not magic. Not genetics. Not prophecy. Just care. Just presence. Just a human doing what no one else had done. You became their guardian, she whispered. The janitor's voice broke. I didn't mean to. I just didn't want them to die. The queen opened her eyes. Slowly, a storm churned inside them. They will not die, she said. Not while I live. Her gaze hardened. And Kvaris will answer for this betrayal. The janitor stepped back, fear returning. Your Majesty. If Kvaris learns I told you, he will do nothing, the queen said firmly. You are under my protection now. The babies hummed softly, sensing the shift in the room. But just as the queen lifted her hand to order an investigation, the palace lights flickered. Deep alarm echoed through the halls. A warning, a threat, a sign that someone already knew the truth was coming out. The alarm echoed through the palace like a distant roar, shaking the quiet nursery. The lights flickered again, turning the room into shifting shades of purple and red. The queen instantly straightened, her instincts sharp and ready. Someone had triggered a security override. Someone knew she had returned. And someone knew the truth was beginning to surface. The janitor clutched the quadruplets close, fear rising inside him like cold water. The babies whimpered softly, sensing the tension. The queen raised her hand, silencing him. Stay still, she whispered. Do not speak. Her eyes glowed faintly as she accessed the palace network through her embedded neural link. For a moment, her vision blurred with cascading holographic screens, security locks, intruder alerts, restricted areas closing, interior doors sealing. Then she saw it. The signal was coming from the West Wing, from the council chambers, from Advisor Kvaris' command console. The queen's lips curled into a cold, bitter line. Kvaris knows, she said quietly. He knows I'm in the nursery. He knows you told me. The janitor's face turned pale. How? We didn't tell anyone. He has access to every system, the queen said. including the sensors inside this room. The janitor's eyes widened. He looked around the nursery walls. Tiny lenses glimmered, cameras disguised as decorations. They had been watching everything. The Queen clenched her fist, crushing one holographic window in frustration. The betrayal ran deeper than she imagined. Before she could speak again, the nursery doors sealed shut with a heavy metallic lock. A red warning line glowed across them. The Queen turned sharply, her voice low and dangerous. "He wants us trapped." The janitor instinctively stepped back. The babies clung to him tightly, sensing danger. Their small hums grew louder, more distressed. The Queen moved closer to him, scanning the room. "Varys will send guards, but not loyal ones. He will send the ones he owns." The janitor shook his head. "Why would he do all this? Why target your children?" The Queen stared at him, her voice heavy. "Because my heirs are a threat to his power. Strong royal heirs mean a strong future ruler. Varys wants to control the empire through fear and dependency. And the babies." The janitor whispered. "He wanted them weak," the Queen said. "Weak heirs are easy to manipulate, easy to remove." The janitor's breath caught in his chest. He looked down at the children, tiny, innocent, unaware of the danger that chased them before they could even speak. Then he remembered something. "There's more," he said softly. "Something I didn't tell you yet." The Queen turned sharply. "Continue." The janitor took a shaky breath. "2 nights ago, I saw something strange. Someone was inside the nursery before I entered." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Who?" "A nurse," he said, "but not one I recognized. She wore the uniform, but her badge was wrong. She didn't act like a nurse." The Queen's stomach tightened. What was she doing? The janitor hesitated. She was holding a small device, black and metallic. It was pointed at the babies. They were crying hard. She didn't try to help them. The Queen's blood ran cold. What did she do with the device? She demanded. "She scanned them," the janitor whispered, like she was checking something inside them. "When I entered, she hid the device and rushed out. She didn't look surprised to see me. It was like she expected it." The Queen felt a chill run up her spine. A fake nurse. A hidden device. Scans done in secret. Someone had been monitoring the heirs, studying them, testing them. Did she harm them? The Queen asked quickly. "I don't know," the janitor answered. "But after that night, they cried more. They stopped eating for a while. They only calmed when I held them." The Queen took a long, slow breath. She felt something she rarely experienced: fear. Someone powerful wanted her heirs to fail. Someone wanted control over their lives and futures. Someone wanted the Queen broken and her line weak. She reached down and touched the nearest babies. "Sheik." He leaned into her touch, but his tiny hand still reached toward the janitor. Their bond was strong. Stronger than politics. Stronger than fear. "It is worse than I thought," she said softly. "This is no simple betrayal. This is a plot to steal the throne." Before the janitor could answer, footsteps echoed from outside. Heavy boots. Armored. Guards, many of them. The Queen's eyes flashed. "Varys has sent his soldiers." The janitor hugged the babies tightly. "What do we do?" The Queen stood tall, her presence filling the room with raw power. "We fight for my children," she said. "We fight for the future." She turned toward the sealed doors, raising her glowing hands. But first, cracks of bright blue energy crawled across her fingers. "We break out of this trap." The sealed nursery doors throbbed with red warning lights, each pulse echoing the danger closing in. Outside, the sound of armored footsteps grew louder, sharp, heavy, and full of deadly purpose. The Queen knew exactly who sent them. Kva is her trusted advisor, her betrayer. The one who dared target her newborn heirs. The janitor held the quadruplets close, trying to keep them calm as fear tightened around his chest. The babies pressed into him, sensing the danger outside the walls. Their tiny glowing fingers clutched his uniform, refusing to let go. The queen studied the human for a long moment. The soft hum of the alarm reflected against her silver skin, but her eyes burned with deep thought, not rage, not panic, but evaluation. She stepped closer. "Human," she said, her voice quieter now. "You risked your life for my children. Not once, but many times." The janitor lowered his head, unsure how to respond. "I only did what anyone should do." "No," the queen said. "Most would not. Even many of my own kind did not." She moved closer still, her expression unreadable, her tone colder. "But before I place the fate of my heirs in your hands, you must answer me, and your answer will decide if you live or if you die." The janitor's breath caught. I understand." The queen motioned for him to kneel. Despite the weight of fear, he obeyed, lowering himself slowly while keeping the babies safe in his arms. The queen's cloak brushed the floor as she circled him like a silent storm. "I must know your heart," she said. "Your true reason. Why did you care for my children? Why did you keep helping them, even when it might have cost you everything?" The janitor closed his eyes for a moment. His voice trembled when he finally spoke, "Because they were alone." The queen stopped moving. The janitor continued, his voice growing steadier as truth poured out of him. "I heard them crying in this room. It wasn't just crying, it was something deeper. Like they were begging for someone to come, begging for help." He looked down at the quadruplets nestled against him. "I couldn't ignore them. I couldn't walk away, not when they were hurting." His words were so simple, yet they hit the queen harder than any political speech or royal promise ever had. He did not help them because he wanted reward. He did not help them because he expected something. He helped because he cared. A basic human instinct, something pure, something powerful. The queen looked at him with a strange softness she rarely showed. "Humans are fragile," she said. "Weak compared to my people. You have no armor, no enhancements, no royal blood. Yet you stood where my own trained staff did not." She knelt before him, something unimaginable for a Xyrix, ruler, and gently touched one of the babies' heads. "They chose you because you protected them," she whispered. "And infants of my kind never choose wrong." The janitor looked shocked. "Your Majesty, I didn't mean to take their place. I'm not trying to be anything. They just needed someone." The queen exhaled slowly, her voice softer now. "And you became that someone." A deep boom shook the door behind them. The metal dented inward. The guards were forcing entry. Time was almost gone. The queen placed one hand on the janitor's shoulder, not harsh but steady. "Listen to me," she said. "A bond has formed between you and them. A bond stronger than Kvaris knew. If he understands this, he will kill you first." The janitor tightened his hold on the babies. "Then what do you want me to do?" The queen stood tall again, her power radiating through the room like a rising storm. "You will stay close to me," she said. "You will protect my heirs. And I," her voice deepened, "will protect you." The janitor's eyes widened. "Me, Your Majesty? I am only a janitor." "No," the queen said firmly, "not anymore." A final deafening crash struck the doors. Metal screeched as cracks spread across the seal. The queen raised her glowing hands, blue energy swirling around her fingers like lightning waiting to be unleashed. "The race believes you are a weakness," she said. "But I have seen the truth." Her eyes blazed with royal fire. "You are their strength." The janitor swallowed hard, feeling the babies cling to him even tighter. For the first time, despite the danger, he felt something new, purpose. The queen stepped forward, her energy building into a powerful aura. "Human," she said, "from this moment on." Another boom shook the doors. "You fight with me." The doors finally burst inward. The queen unleashed her power, and the Battle for the future of the Empire began. The nursery doors exploded inward with a thunderous crash. Metal fragments scattered across the floor as smoke poured into the room. Behind the haze, armored figures marched forward, silent, disciplined, and deadly. Pavaris had sent his elite guards. The queen did not hesitate. Blue energy burst from her, hands sweeping across the room like a shockwave. The first line of guards flew backward, crashing into the corridor walls. The nursery floor cracked under the force of her power. The janitor ducked behind a crystal pillar, shielding the quadruplets. With his body, the babies whimpered but clung to him, trusting him completely. Through the smoke, one guard stepped forward, taller, heavier armor, black markings on the helmet. This was no ordinary soldier. The queen recognized him instantly. Krylon, she hissed. Her former war commander, Vari's most loyal enforcer. A warrior once sworn to protect her, now sent to kill her. Krylon raised his spear, its tip crackling with red energy. "Your Majesty," he said, voice cold through the helmet. "Advisor Kvaris orders your surrender. You are charged with treason against the Xyrix Empire." The queen's eyes blazed with rage. "Treason?" she repeated. "I and the Empire." Krylon did not flinch. "Not anymore." He pointed his spear directly at the babies. "Surrender the heirs." The janitor's breath caught. He held the quadruplets tighter, feeling their trembling bodies. If the guards got past the queen, the children would not survive. The queen stepped forward, placing herself between Krylon and her younglings. "You dare threaten royal blood?" she growled. Krylon answered calmly. "Advisor Kvaris believes the heirs are unfit to rule. Their weakness endangers the Empire's future." The queen's voice rose like a storm. "They are not weak." Her words made every guard hesitate, just for a moment. Then Krylon spoke again. "They bonded with a human, Your Majesty. A janitor. That proves they are defective." The queen froze. The janitor felt his heart drop. Was his presence really considered a defect in this alien empire? The queen slowly turned toward him. The babies clung to him tighter, as if they understood the accusation. Something fierce lit up in the queen's eyes. "You are wrong," she said. "The bond proves they are strong." Krylon tilted his head. "Explain." The queen spoke clearly, her voice filled with unshakable conviction. "In Xyrix history, only royal heirs with extraordinary mental strength can form cross-species bonds. It has happened only twice before." She gestured to the janitor. "And my children have bonded with this human because he protected them when no one else did." The guards exchanged uncertain glances. Krylon hesitated for the first time, but then he raised his spear again. "It does not matter. Varis has commanded their removal. Your reign is over." The queen's fury exploded. Blue lightning shot from her hands, ripping through the air. Krylon raised a shield, blocking the direct hit, but cracks spread across his armor. The queen's voice thundered. "Kvaris wants control. He wants fear, but he will have neither." She turned sharply. "Human." The janitor stood up, shaking, but determined. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Take the heirs," she commanded. "Follow the emergency passage behind the stasis chamber. It leads outside the palace. Run. Do not stop." The janitor hesitated. "What about you?" "I will face Krylon," she said. "I will hold them here." A deep, heavy moment hung between them. The janitor understood. She was risking her life to save her children. But before he could move, Krylon surged forward with sudden speed. The queen blocked him, their forces colliding in a storm of blue and red energy. The janitor ran to the stasis chamber, pressing the hidden panel. A door slid open, revealing a dark tunnel glowing with emergency lights. He looked down at the babies. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'll protect you." He stepped inside, but something stopped him. A sharp, distant voice echoed from a small communicator inside the tunnel walls. "Guard the passage. The queen must not escape and kill the human. It was Kvaris. He knew about the emergency tunnel. He anticipated her plan. The janitor's heart pounded. Heavy footsteps approached from the other end of the tunnel. The queen heard it too. Her eyes widened as she fought Krylon. "No!" she shouted. They sealed both exits. The janitor took a step back. He was trapped. The babies were trapped. The queen was fighting alone. Krylon pushed forward, his spear glowing brighter. Queen's strength faltered for a moment. "Human!" She cried out desperately, "Get down!" A blast of red energy filled the room, and everything went white.